Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, looks like I pushed two buttons. John couldn't have answered a better question. What role does e-newsletter play in nurturing clients over time? I mean, if you're getting clients for 12 years past, that's a pretty big nurturing tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I had a guy that called me. He says, I had done an inspection for him 12 years ago. He had a leak in the house and he wanted me to help him figure out where it was coming from. So I went out there to do that, and I did it for free.
Sure.
But then he said, while you're here, can you do a radon test? I said, all right. So I picked up a
Yay.
test, but he was telling me, he says, yeah, I've been reading your newsletter for 12 years. He says, and he says, I don't read it every month, but there's good stuff in it. And every now and then I read through stuff. So
That's awesome.
that was encouraging.
Right. And I think the thing about it is, and this is where home inspectors have made a big boo-boo in the past. They would write content they thought the customer would be interested in. And in all fairness, they didn't know any difference. But today, with the aggregators, we know what questions people are asking on the internet. Okay, so I would rather write content about something that people want to know about, and I'm confident they want to know about it because the internet searches are showing it, but then I would write something that I think they should be interested in. Dan Kennedy said one day we were in a meeting, he said, would you rather stand in front of a hungry crowd with a hot dog wagon, or would you rather convince somebody they're hungry? I mean, when you think about that, I'm standing in front of the hungry crowd with a hot dog wagon. Okay, so what happens is when people are asking for information, they're not asking for their health. They're asking because they want to know the answers to that. And that's the way we should be writing content, or people who are asking those things. Not what we as home inspectors think they should be wanting to hear. Oh, you need to know about all this. Well, no, not really. We don't really have any questions about that, but do you know anything about this? Okay, so the internet will allow us to determine over time. And if you don't have a special tool, what you can do is just go in and type in any radon testing, and down below at the bottom of the page, it'll give you 6 or 7 other things that people are asking on Google that you can get topics for and write it if you're doing it on your own. If we do it for you, then we have all that. All right.
Does it
Brad,
necessarily have to be a link to something that's, I mean, if you're just trying to provide information, can it be a link to something that's not necessarily in our blog? I mean, we don't get the benefit from it, but we're still providing the information.
You could, and I guess what happens is if you wanted to link them to something else, yeah, you could. I guess my goal is twofold with a newsletter. One, obviously, is to provide quality, great information that people are going to read and enjoy so that I can get the benefits from it. But really what I need to build brand fans. I need to sell services. I need to do things that pay the bills. So, so when I let people, what I call leak off onto some other content, they don't usually come back. Okay, because they get busy and boom, boom, boom. But so I try to do it. Now, what I have done, and this is a good thing, is I've had the article and I put down at the bottom for additional resources. And then you can attach a link there and let them go there for it. But they've still consumed your content. So here's one of the other things I think is a problem. And I talk to Dill about this on a regular basis. I think it's egregious for us to think that everybody's going to read all of your article. Okay, that's nuts. I mean, why are we that egotistical to think you're going to read every word we wrote? Okay, so where do most people put the call to action? At the bottom of the page, don't they? They put it at the bottom.
You got to put it at the top.
Yeah, or in the middle, or in the right-hand column, somewhere else beside. Now, I'm not saying don't have it at the bottom, but if you're expecting everybody to read your content and go all the way to the bottom to see your offer, forget about it. That ain't gonna happen. It'll happen once in a while, but it's not gonna happen on a regular basis. So you need to think about bringing those offers on up higher on the page. And maybe Dill in a minute can show you a page that we have where we do that, where we bring that the offers up. Okay, so I think that's a fundamental mistake. I mean, honestly, really, aren't we in the position of providing great, valuable services to our clients? I mean, that's really what we're about, right? I mean, we're not some crazy wacko salesman trying to sell you snake oil. I mean, we have services that we offer that are awesome and the customers want them. But if you don't let them know about it, what you got available. Now, Brandon might be selling snake oil. I know him pretty well. He's handling some snakes up there in Idaho. So, but the fact of the matter is, people love what we have to offer. I mean, go out and do an inspection, and at the end of the inspection, people love you.
Yeah.
Okay, and why not be able to continue that relationship and continue that brand fan feeling? You can really, if you'll do this thing right, you'll really nurture long-term relationships. John's living proof of it.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing before we move on, if you don't
Sure,
mind,
sure.
just a couple of, I guess, anecdotal experiences from my own experience. You know, you asked the question early on if local people here that we've worked with, other industries give us a newsletter, and my same answer is no. I've never really had anybody do that. But if you go online and you make a purchase to, for example, I bought shoes through Reebok, right? And guess what? Reebok sends me an email every few weeks saying, hey, this is the special, the deal, the offer we have going on. Another one, a few years ago, I bought Sarah for, I think, our wedding anniversary or something. It's called a chat book. It's a place where you can take your pictures from your phone or your Instagram and you can upload them, and they'll create this book and they'll make it real nice and they'll ship it off to you. And guess what? I get an email from them every now and again. Sometimes it's an offer. I just checked just a minute ago to see what else they're sending. It was actually a podcast that they have, and I guess they're gearing it towards moms, stay-at-home moms, maybe. But it's about how to keep your kids healthy and not get sick at school. So they're not necessarily making an offer to their chat books necessarily, but they're providing more value again, and engaging with their customers, even though they've made a purchase, in the past. Assuming that the hope is that, again, here in the future, they're going to stay front of mind when it's time to buy somebody else a gift like that. Then there's the first thought that comes to mind, right?
Right.
They're understanding their target audience.
Yeah.
Because you've said it, if you have the chat book, maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. Okay, and stay-at-home moms have to work hard to keep those kids healthy, because when the kids are healthy, everybody else in the family's healthy, or ish. But depending on how much you get out. But the kids, little germ factories over there getting all exposed to all that stuff. So that's fantastic. But why is it the big companies send out effective newsletters with offers, but we as small businesses don't think we have to do this? I mean, really, I know John has wooed tons of his business from good looks. But John and I are getting older now. What happens is the good looks thing, me and him, we over with that. We got to really sell somebody something now.
But what kind of offers do we really have once we've gotten past the home inspection and our initial service? I mean, we don't see our clients again for 7 more years if we're lucky.
I hear that all the time.
What's that?
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, we don't have a lot to offer them for after the inspection that we're making money on.
So let me go back to this and say this, because this might have slipped past you because I'm a slow speaker. Okay. So what happens is our goal is to make that particular customer a brand fan. So they love what you did. They love your inspection report. They thought you were a wonderful fellow. Okay. And what happens is they're very excited about what you did. Okay. So if we can continue that excitement and keep them in touch with us with information from newsletters, seasonal checklists, all those kinds of things, we stay on top of their mind.
Right.
So what happens is, even though they don't buy a property, their friends and family will.
Right.
And I always tell this story, John, and this is really, I think, telling. So you're sitting in a lunchroom at your business, at your corporation you work for, and your buddy comes in. Y'all always have lunch together in a lunchroom. So your buddy comes in and said, John, oh man, Mary and I were looking for a house. We've been beat out on every offer. We finally found a place we love. And guess what? Our offer was accepted. And you know what I want your brand fan to say? Congratulations. You know the second thing I want them to say? I know the perfect home inspector. And when your brand fan says that, price becomes a secondary issue. They don't call up and say, John, how much does inspection cost? You know what they say? Ken over at the company we worked together loved your service, loved you, and guess what? He told us to call you. So now it's when can you get out there, right? Not how much.
Mhm.
Okay, so I concur with you completely. In old days, you know, when things were really smoking and going, people were buying houses every 3 or 4 years, but we're back to the 7 to 9 year rate. People get in and stay for a variety of reasons, lack of inventory, whatever, stability, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you're right. You're exactly right. So our goal with these strategies is to build brand fans. They're a fan of our brand. And your company is your brand. Okay. And you continue to build it, hone it, and refine it. So just think about it as a little ball, man. You're just keeping it rounded off by doing all these great things where people want to do business with you. And this really does it. And that's why when we go back to making offers with your preferred vendors, I mean, how many things can you offer? Okay, so you have a new product or service, you do that. Okay, this, that, and the other. But what you want to continue to do is add value through your preferred vendors. Like, for instance, we have the home that we have in Venice, we still own that, and we lease it to a nice couple. Well, what happened was we needed a plumber because we have one of those fancy ass showers. Don't ever get this by Moen, where it's computer driven, like your Cadillac. You know, you push driver 1 and it makes all the adjustments, and you push driver 2 and it makes all the adjustments. Okay, so what happens is it sets the valves and the temperature and all this, you know, and we're like, please. So now what happens is when you push the button, the water doesn't come on. The panel's still working, but the water doesn't come on. So now I need a plumber. So if the plumber sent me a newsletter and had a 10% discount, I'd have used it. You know what I'm saying? So people need these services at different times. And if you have a list, it's not Angie's list, it's John's list. The guy that did the home inspection, they love. Okay, so by providing quality vendors that they can take advantage of, you're the winner. See, here's a story. In Atlanta, there was an article in there about a homeopathic really remedy for eczema. So you got a friend in California who has eczema, and you know he has eczema, and he has to take these drugs that are pretty rough. Okay, so you see this in the paper. So you cut out that article, drop it in the mail, write him a personal note, and include that information from the AJC in there. So when he reads it, he calls you up and says, thank you, loved it, he's trying it, this, that, and the other. Who gets credit? The author of the article or you because you sent it?
Right.
Of course you. It's the
Right.
same principle when you recommend your preferred vendors. Okay, these are people that you know, like, and trust. I mean, if they're crappy, don't have them on your list. Okay, so, but they're good. I mean, we had Reliable Heating and Air Conditioning. They were fantastic, and they were citywide in Atlanta. And our customers loved it. And you know what happens is Dan Jape and his family built a ton of business from Southern Home Inspection Services because, you know, we're doing, you know, thousands of inspections a year. Okay, so, you know, they loved it. Okay, the same way we didn't want to do, in the old days, we didn't do pests. And so we brought on a partner vendor that did pests. Okay, and we had other partner vendors that did other things. And it really works. But think about how many times you go to an inspection and people ask you, John, who do you know that can do this? Like every day, right? I mean, is it not an everyday occurrence?
Yeah.
Okay, now you've got John's list
No.
and it's computerized. Okay,
And it helps your website.
It makes your brand better, though. I mean, that's really what you're talking about, making your brand better by bringing value to your trusted customer.
I actually have an Excel spreadsheet that I've accumulated over the years with all that stuff.
We can
Let's
help
put it
you.
to work. Let's put it to work.
What,
Um,
real quickly, one of the other things about the newsletter itself, by sending it consistently, is they don't forget you. Okay, just like your guy 12 years ago, he was able to, you know, contact you right away because you consistently send him newsletters. So when they need you or they want to refer you to someone, they just go to their email and type in your name and pull up your information. That was one of the things Ken and I had the issue with the guy in Naples that did our carpet clean. He didn't stay in touch with us, and we forgot who he was 2 years later.
Yeah, Beth lost his business card. I'm blaming it on her.
I said I put it somewhere very, very safe.
Yeah.
Probably. Same thing happened with our grandfather clock. You know, Kim bought the clock in Atlanta, and almost 20 years later, it stopped chiming at all, and we're like, who was it? And Ken's like, I don't remember, you know. And thank goodness he taped his card, his business card, in the back of the clock. We found it back there,
Oh.
and we did call him. And he said to me, I said, you know, what the problem was. He said, have you ever had it serviced? I said, no. And he said, you know, you're supposed to have that clock, grandfather clock, serviced every, 5, 7 to 10 years. I said, well, why didn't you tell me? You know, we spent all this money on this clock, and he never stayed in touch with us to let us know you got to keep it serviced. So
Got a beautiful clock I bought in the 90s. That thing is still chiming every day of the week. When the kids
Yeah.
come, they're like that. That's just like music to their ears. You know,
they
they're
grew
so
up with
accustomed to
it,
that
so
clock.
it's
Yeah.
a homey
Yeah.
We
thing.
have
Beautiful
one of those,
granite.
the guy who delivered it told us to have it serviced all the time, and he says, by the way, I'm retiring.
Oh yeah, thank you.
And I don't know any replacements.
But at least he told you, so you knew.
Yeah,
So one of the things in supplement to your newsletter, you're going to have email marketing. Okay. And so what happens is you could, in between times, you could send a newsletter that said, don't forget I have John's list or Brandon's list. And here's the folks that are on it. You could feature them. And one of the things that you need to do is this, and this is to do interviews with them. And John, you and Brandon have heard this story, but the guy that did AquaGuard was a foundation company in Atlanta, did a series of 5 interviews with our president. And we talked about everything from failed foundations, waters in crawl space. I mean, the list went on. And those were hugely viewed. Okay, just insert those in a blog post about a foundation issue. Okay, and people then read them. Okay, and then they call your vendor and they call you, but you're providing value and expertise by bringing in some partner vendors to surround yourself with. One of the things about it, you think about somebody's wanting to start a kitchen job or a remodeling job, and they come to your list and they get somebody on your list for it. That's tremendous value. So I think that's in nurturing your leads. It's just not what you write, it's what you provide value-wise. Obviously, the person that has been reading your newsletter for 12 years obviously found value in it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have continued to read it. I know
was
it's just
actually having a conversation this morning with my homeowner's insurance lady, who I've known for many, many years, and she's really terrific. And I was asking her to provide me something that I could give to clients, to get them to look at her for homeowners insurance. I mean, I'm meeting homeowners before they're buying that stuff. It'd be a perfect connection.
So you should probably talk with Beth outside this call and talk about what Brandon's doing and how you can do it. And it's super easy once you get a formula set up and a plan, then you come on in. But I mean, if she has a website, there'd be a way to link her there. You could put it in your post. You could do a blog post and with an interview with her. And what I do, John, when I'm doing an interview like that with people and I'm not that familiar with the topic, I ask them to give me their 5 most frequently asked questions.
Sure.
And when they do, then I ask them, I look smart and they look smart.
Yeah, and you prefer those videos in person or a Zoom call?
I do Zoom.
Yeah.
Only person I see in person is Beth. That's
Your
it, bro.
doctor.
Yeah, unfortunately, my doctor. Although I have to tell you, praise the Lord, I have seen less and less of doctors recently, so that's a good thing.
Good for you.
Yeah, I will tell you, just an aside, I've turned 7 months ago, I moved into a plant-based eater. Last year I had a quadruple bypass. That was the second time I'd had heart surgery. And what happened was that when I just went, they had been measuring my blockages in my arteries, and my blockages had reduced 5%. They reduced
Carotid
5% in my
artery.
carotid artery. So it's actually not stopping heart disease, it's reversing it.
Reversing.
Now, I'm doing plant-based too, but I use a filter, the cow.
I would be too, John, if my physician would allow it. Listen, I used to enjoy, some people enjoy Captain Crunch. I enjoyed cackleberries. you know, those are crack 'em. I like cackleberries fried or scrambled or all that. Of course, we're Southern, y'all. We have some biscuits and some gravy and all that. So, but those are now just fond memories, John. So that's it.